apply for money to actualize your dreams, right? That's what it's all about. So on the screen you see these are the 4 basic things we're going to be covering today. And you have in your handouts most of the materials that you need in order to be successful at writing these proposals. The other part of the success is working with me. So we become a team when we're doing that. We're going to cover the requirements and the changes that have happened over the last year in both the emerging and the mini grants. And I'm going to go over the tips for preparation that actually apply to any grant. Whether you were doing a mini grant or if you were working on an external grant, these tips are the same. Then we're going to have, at 11 o'clock, hopefully I'll be done. And we have 9 presentations of mini grant awardees. I think it's 9 that we have available. And people will be coming in and out, so you're going to welcome them and forgive them for only being able to be here for their own presentation because they have other obligations and have to get back to the desk or etc. and couldn't come to the whole training, right? We're all going to be happy that they're here and doing the presentation. We're hoping that the presentations will be no longer than 5 minutes so we can get through everything. So if you have questions, we do want to take your questions during that time, but if we go over the 5 minutes, then I'll have to cut the questions off and you can get with that award winner at another time and get your question answered. It's nice that Ricardo walked all the way over here from HSCL because we weren't able to show the slides virtually to HSCL or Borland, so thanks Ricardo. Can we have a show of hands of those people who are here representing the Grants Management Committee? Yes? I know we have more. John is a retired member of the committee, but thanks for coming. And Donna is the new chair of the committee, and this is her first official, I guess, meeting as chair. So let's go through these quickly. Know the guidelines, and I did want to show you how to get to this link when you're in your office and you're not in this slide presentation. So basically you go here to the home page of the libraries and you scroll down to Staff Web. And then on the far left you see Administration and you click on Grants. And then once you're on this Grants page, on the top you see mini grant category funding. On the left here you see a bunch of tabs, and the best, most current documents, according to my retired graduate assistant who posted all of these online, is the Documents tab. So you go to the Documents tab, and all of these are current. These are the documents that you need to work within the mini grant program, and these are the documents that you need to work within the Emerging Technologies program. Is everybody clear on this? Okay, it's a little bit complicated to get to, but. So first step in any grant application method is to read the guidelines thoroughly. And I trust that you'll do that. And then it's about developing your idea and determining with this idea that you have, who are the people that you need in order to execute your idea. And you can probably just imagine in your mind, okay, if these are the basic activities, then I'm going to need approval from this department or this department. I'm going to need help from these people, and therefore I want them to be with me while I develop this proposal, not at the end of the proposal. You don't want to develop your idea and then make your phone calls on September 30th when the grant deadline is October 3rd. You want to do all of that up front. And I can tell you that people are uncomfortable emphasize here is that grant writing is not a solo art form. You require lots and lots of other people to work with you. And I will be your partner throughout. So once you have your idea, call me. And we'll set up a meeting right away, and we'll figure out what you need to do and see if your idea is viable to go to the next step. So let's say we've met. The next step is to create your timeline. And this is the case with all grants. What we do is create what are the series of activities in developing your project or your idea that have to happen in order to make your project happen. And once you have this timeline of activities, then you can see also the people who have to be involved. And from that, then you can determine what your budget is going to be in order to make that timeline work. So the budget, let's just say, is the energy. So money in my frame of reference is energy, and it makes the project run. So if you need OPS students to help you do X, Y, Z, then that goes in the budget. You're not sure how many students? That's okay. You just have to have the beginnings of what does this look like? And then who else is involved with me and how much staff time am I going to need? So you don't have to tell me up front how much time you're going to need. Just tell me the type of people that you think you're going to need. And then the budget can develop over time. We can fine-tune it, fine-tune it, fine-tune it. But what we don't want is the timeline and then we don't see the budget until September 30th. That will not work. Because what we've got to do at step 3 is determine whether your project is feasible. And there have been people who have met with me in my office, and we do these calculations and determine that the project does not make sense. And if we can do that together, then you don't have to waste your time on step 4, step 5, step 6, step 7. You just stop here, and there's very little pain. Does this make sense to you? Because my goal is to have more and more people work with the grants office to actualize your dreams, to actualize your projects. And if you're doing work needlessly, people are going to start saying, well, I don't want to do that because that's like not worth my effort. So at step 3, we figure out go or no go. Make sense? Okay. Now you're going to start divvying up your narrative sections and having other people help you. The words you want to always avoid are would, should, could, and may. In a grant application, you are proposing something that will happen in the future. So you're going to try to use active verbs. When you use the words would, should, could, may, it appears to the reader that you're not sure that this will happen. And that's not the level of confidence that we want to see in a document. You want to assume that the reviewers, who are the grants management committee, know nothing about you or your project. And if you start from that, you'll be able to help them visualize the movie in your narrative, the story, so that they can understand who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it, etc. And remember that less is more. Your narrative pages, it's going to be 3 pages. Use it wisely. And I'll be working with any of you and all of you. What's wonderful is that once you've written a proposal for a mini grant, it's so much easier to work with you as a team on an external proposal. And that's happened time and time again. Okay. You have to figure out who this is going to benefit ahead of time. So what are the needs that you're meeting? And it's not the needs of the library. Many times grant writers get confused when they're answering the question about needs or benefits. Of course, all of us could write a dissertation on the benefits that it would be for ourselves about the users, about the faculty who benefit, how will they benefit. It's about the users and how they will benefit the students, etc. Make sense? So they're a primary customer. You're going to need letters. So the reason it's in step 4.5 to get your letters or your emails, and email is fine for these mini grants, that says, I agree to do X, Y, Z, I support the project, this is why I support the project. And many times people leave this to the last step, and then that person's on vacation, or that person was out sick, and it's due the next day, and you don't have your email, or you don't have your letter confirmation. So you want to do this pretty much on the front end of the project. So you compile all your information and make sure that your project team has all the resources that they need and get feedback. And you'll see that you need approvals from folks in order to be able to use resources and in order to be able to know how much of, let's say, DLC time is going to go into this. Because we can't add things to the queue if it's going to be too burdensome, etc. If they agree, then you get that approval on your form. So if you could be working with me to refine your proposals 2 weeks prior to October 3rd, then that's really good. If it's later than that, then all of us won't be sleeping, and I'll be concerned that your proposal isn't ready to go because I'm your partner, and I'm equally, I feel that equality with you to make sure that you can present a solid proposal. Okay, so that's it. Let's go to the documents. Okay. I wanted to go over some of the changes in the guidelines. So now we have for the mini grants, we have 2 deadlines. The first one is in October, and the second one is in February. Actually, in May. Sorry. This is because we've had so many solid proposals in the last 3 years, or the last couple of years, and we've had a lot of really strong applicants, and the dean has decided to add more funds so that there's a second round. So there's $25,000 in each round, and we typically give out, so the awards are still at $5,000. That's the major change in the mini grant program. And I'm not going to go through all of this information because it's pretty explanatory. Where people have had questions in the past is in the PI. The PI is the leader, it's the person that owns the idea, and that's the principal investigator. So we're saying that the principal investigator cannot include their own time as the required 10% cost share. With cost share means contributed time. Time that you're getting from other people that's contributed, you're not paying for that time out of your $5,000, okay? So we're saying that the PI cannot use their own time, so it forces collaboration. You have to go out into your community and find other people who will donate and contribute their time to work with you on your project. And those are the hours that you count as your cost share. In order to figure out how much money that is for your budget, I work with you, you give me the names of the people, and I'll go get the salaries, and we come up with a formula. Nadine does all this work to support all of the applicants. We get a spreadsheet with a formula, and we plug in the percentage of time, and boom, we have the budget amount. So the budgets are really easy to create. It should not be a burden for anyone. And basically, it's a 12-month grant. You have 12 months with your funding that's no more than $5,000 to execute an original idea that will benefit the users. Okay? And that's about all I want to do in terms of getting into the mini grant guidelines. If that's all right with everyone, because we have all these other presentations, and the guidelines are very, very specific. And here's the judging criteria and the approval process. Once you've submitted your proposal on October 3rd, it goes to the Grants Management Committee. And they read all the proposals and come up with a list of questions. Because many times the proposals are not clear. And rather than just grade you on that, they would rather have you answer the questions so they can make a very informed decision. And you get the questions in advance. Donna and I will meet with you individually and get all your answers. And then we submit the answers to the Grants Management Committee, and they vote actually with a scoring system. So there's a scoring system that matches up with these criteria that you see on the screen. The degree to which the project supports the library's mission and goals, the justification statement. So all of these are rated in terms of merit, all right? And so we want to make sure that the panel has enough information to be able to give you proper ratings. And then from those ratings, the amount of funds that is allocated to you is determined. And then we let you know by November 1st, you should be ready to go executing your project. You'll be notified about the award, and it goes to Judy for final approval, and then it goes as a public announcement. You'll get a letter that indicates that you were awarded this amount. In terms of the emerging technologies proposal, there are changes here. Just want to make sure. What we're asking is that you fill out this pre-proposal form. This is the case only for the emerging technologies grants. It's a very simple form, your name, contact information, and then this 250-word summary of your idea. That idea will go to the Grants Management Committee for review and to Judy to determine whether this is a viable emerging technologies project. Why are we doing this? It's to ensure that you don't do work or research or development of an idea that is not innovative, that doesn't meet the emerging technologies definition. And because the definition is a moving target, we thought that we would put this process in place so that we could help you determine whether your idea was going to fly or it wasn't. Does this make sense to everyone? So this is the main new aspect of the Emerging Technologies program. The second one is that there's no deadline. So there's $40,000 in the pot to fund emerging technologies projects. You can submit your proposal at any time, working with me. The sooner the better, because when the money runs out, the money runs out. You don't really compete against others unless your proposal comes at the same time as someone else's. Correct? And once we start to get proposals, it's going to be human nature that the grants committee starts to compare to the ones that they read in the previous month and the previous month. So that's just the nature of grantsmanship. So if you get your proposal in early, you'll have very little competition guidelines are on page 5 and 6. So, and then after that, you have the emerging technologies form. That is the form that gives you, yes, Tara.
So the emerging technology definition is a moving target.
Well, as best as we could, it's on the guidelines for the emerging mini grants in the first paragraph. Let's see.
CD-ROM projects are not going to be emerging in 2012.
So floppy disk. So emerging technologies projects that will be innovative here at UF, although similar to other projects at academic libraries elsewhere, will be accepted. In these cases, applicants, so, well, that doesn't, you know, we had a real hard time with the definition of emerging technologies, so we didn't include it. Yes, Carol.
Well, that's the reason we implemented the pre-proposal form, I believe, is because it is so hard to find what everyone was looking for this emerging technology aspect. By having the pre-proposal form, before you do all that work, we can kind of look at an idea-by-idea basis, whether it kind of fits that, whether the committee and Judy agree that it fits that category. So that was one of the reasons that the proposal form came about.
It's not for not trying.
Right.
So if you Google emerging technologies, you'll see what I went through, and you'll see why there isn't a hard and fast definition of what that is. So.
Can I throw in a comment? I mean, I think that the big issue was that the way the original definition was worded, we got the sense that people may have been put off by the fact that if it is something that is already out there, even if it's not a UF, people were going to try to implement a UF. So that's more or less what happened. So that's led to kind of the rewriting of its definition that says, okay, you can propose to do something that sort of exists in another library, but not at UF, but spin it so that it's not the same thing. And we had mobile technologies, you know, those are explicitly mentioned here. We had those specifically singled out there for exactly that reason. Because lots of other places have all these fantastic mobile apps that we don't have here, that we'd like to have here, but at the same time, we don't want to give money for something that's identical. You know, you shouldn't be getting money to copy somebody else's idea. So you can be inspired by another idea, but put a unique twist on it to make it, you know, specific to UF and different from what's already out there. So, does that make any kind of sense?
And that's exactly the point. The other thing is that if we're going to do an assessment here on campus of an existing technology, then the assessment process would be the new element. That, you know, there would be some, maybe you're using it with a new audience, it exists in another universe, but we're going to bring it here, and there's some assessment or evaluation component that could be the new aspect of the project as well. So if you're assessing the use of an existing technology for a new purpose, then that's a viable also. That's a viable idea.
And that's something that you would put in the pre-proposal.
Other ideas. So we're expecting just to get the pre-proposal idea from you, take it to the grants committee whenever you have it ready. And obviously the sooner the better. So let's just make sure we go through the rest of this. So then you have your, the pre-proposal form for the emerging technologies. There's no pre-proposal form for the mini grant program. And then here's the example of what the cover sheet looks like. And you see on the cover sheet that there's a series of boxes for people to sign off. We've just given you examples of the kind of people you might need to approach to sign up on the use of resources. But you fill this in, you can take these people off and put in the correct people. And then on the other package, you have the narrative guidelines there. I don't know where my package went. You have the narrative guidelines for the the mini grant, the narrative guideline for the emerging technologies, and then you have the budget. It's a fairly simple application to do, and we're trying to keep it simple so that anyone can work with me to get that done. Other questions? I hope this was sufficient, because really the more important part is for you to hear about the projects and the ideas that got actualized this year. So, let's see. Chris, you want to go so that you can go back to the desk? Okay.
Hello everyone, my name is Chris McHale, and I will be presenting on the virtual library tour, which was a mini grant funded last year. I worked on it with a team of other staff members you might know, including Margot Johnson, Tina Benson, Missy Clapp, Matthew Daly, and Stacy Ewing. So, our goal was to create a digital map of UF campus that would center around the library system. We thought this would be a good way to kind of show new students and visitors the importance of the library and how it, at the academic level, everything centers around the library system and information services that they provide. We anticipated the benefits of this would be able to provide a 24-hour tour that would be accessed at any time without staff interference, so it would save lots of staff time from going out to give these tours in person. It would promote UF history and culture, because we were going to incorporate historical events and content from the digital library collections, special collections. So it would also expose all those resources that we have available, and we have really strong resources in those areas, obviously, in University of Florida. So since this is a really far-thinking project, we broke it up into two phases. The first phase, which is the mini grant that we were here. The long-term goal is kind of to turn this into a mobile app, so people can run it on their cell phones, give them guidance on the spot around campus, and we would hope to incorporate the content we collected from this mini grant into that, and use augmented reality, which is a new technology that basically utilizes a camera on a mobile device to layer images. I included one of my favorite, which is the iPhone app that puts a UFO over any building or people whenever you're holding it up. So we kind of hope to do the same thing, but bring UF history, bring all of our pictures and stuff from digital collections out to the open to people. We thought that this content created would also be useful for future outreach, pamphlets, and tour guides, etc. Would also benefit the cicerones on campus because they do this service very often as well. And we won our grant last year and started off with the plan to get started right away in November, hired 2 students, one to serve as a visual coordinator, the other to serve as the narrative content coordinator. I put up an example of our timeline just to show that we had to reevaluate everything and rethink things because we had a late start. So what wound up happening is we decided instead to hire a 3rd person to kind of serve as project coordinator. And we did that in February, and it actually helped tremendously. We got right back on track. We've completed so far 29 different sites that connect all the major branches of the library. It includes pictures, some videos, and we even went directly to the source and took Carl Van Ness to take us around on campus and give us a tour. So we collected a lot of content for it. I'll show you. The team used Google to collect all this content right now, and this is what it looks like at the moment. This is just the homepage tour, and this is the map of the routes that we wrote. Here's another example We also learned a lot about mobile technology tools that are available today. We attended handheld librarian conferences, and we are hoping to use this new tool called Layer to develop the augmented reality feature further in the future. And the one bit of advice that I would give is the benefits to having a project coordinator. If I was to do anything differently, I would have hired a project coordinator first and have them involved in hiring the other two people. It was a really good way to remove myself from the project at times. I only had to talk to that person and meet with the group once a week, as opposed to being there all the time, guiding their progress, etc. So that is something that I would definitely give you guys to consider. So the future of this project, now we've collected, like I said, over 29 sites, and we hope to migrate them to a UF server, add augmented reality features, and a real-time map so that when people are on campus, the GPS coordinates will show them exactly where they are and lead them to each next step. That's it. So.
Anybody have any questions for Chris? We can take a couple quick questions. Great, thanks a lot, Chris. Okay, I saw Ben come in. Ben? On the bottom.
So I just want to talk a little bit about the Education Library mini grant. And Marilyn Ochoa was the principal investigator for this mini grant, and she's going us about it. So I came in to talk a little bit about the program. So when I started at Education, I made it known to the staff that I really wanted to do a mini grant for that year. And I knew that I didn't have any good ideas, so I wanted them to come forward with ideas. And what we did was a smartboard proposal. The idea actually came from one of our student assistants. She brought it to one of the supervisors, who then brought it up in the group. We talked about it sort of planning. And the problem is that there's no smartboard training in the education, in the College of Ed, for our pre-service teachers or education managers. And we thought that was a need that maybe we could step in and fill. And the other thing is that smartboards are included, they're part of all Title I classrooms in Alachua County. So this is something that's spreading throughout Florida. It's an expectation for our teachers that they have that familiarity, and so we thought that this was a good place for us to step in because we had the resources, we had the facility, we were open later hours, you also had instructors who were going to take on those responsibilities. So we started researching equipment and the teaching methods they were using in Alachua County to see exactly what they were using and how they were doing it. From that, we developed a proposal. We requested almost $5,000 for the main grants. And our idea was that we would, in our classroom that we have in Norman Hall now, that we would add a smartboard there and offer formal instruction sessions. Anyone who's interested would start with pre-service teaching programs. And then we also wanted to have the same equipment in our study room that we created this past year that they could check out for group practice, to get more familiar with the equipment. So really, it was going to be a very brief tutorial. We were going to offer, like a 2 to 3 hour session, and then they would have to play with it on their own to gain more experience with it. So we had to coordinate with physical services, with IT, with library facilities, with physical plant, and also with the Office of Academic Technology, because they purchased so much equipment of that nature that we just went through them to actually buy the equipment. They were able to get us a better deal. So current status is that the smart boards are installed. We've got classes scheduled for the fall, and we're finalizing our instruction right now. And we've been allowed to check out the study room since late spring with the smart board. We check out the equipment to them also. We keep the pens and the erasers and things like that at the desk. And it's gotten some use. I wouldn't say it's been heavily used, but some people have played with it a little bit. We've also used the equipment in the English Language Institute classes that we teach in the Education Library. And our goal is to why they put a thermostat in the center of this giant brick wall, but it's solid brick, so they had to figure out a way to get through it. The OAT guy just wanted us to rip it off. We felt like we should go through the process, and so we had to coordinate the facilities to get somebody to come out and look at it. We had to talk to PPD. We also had to talk to fiscal services to make sure someone would pay for it. So anything that you do that's related to the building, I would suggest that you tackle that early. When we had OET look at it, they said, oh, that'd be no problem. When they came to install the boards, it was a bigger problem than they realized. So that's something you definitely want to be aware of. Also, if you have to coordinate multiple departments, I think that's always a challenge. Maryland took on a lot of the heavy lifting, especially in the initial phases of this, but at times I had to get involved just to grease the wheels and move things along. And then finally, just advertising a new service. We had good relations in the college, so we were able to get the word out. But there's still a lot of programs that I'd like to serve in our college and outside the college as well. So I think thinking about how you're going to promote it in the future is always important. And then finally, just two pictures. The picture on the left is the actual classroom, and the picture on the right is the study room. It's the same size board. It's actually newer equipment than what they have in the school board. It's a dual touch system, so two people can work on it at the same time. But I think it's going to be really popular. And as with anything, as soon as you buy it, it's out of date. So I'm sure 6 months down the line, it's something new. But right now, we're pretty happy with it. We've used it in a few different sessions. So.
Great. Thank you, Ben. Questions,
Yes.
Tara?
The study room with the smart board, check outable to anybody with a US computer on card?
Yeah, it's just, we use the same policies that they had set up at West. So it's just like a regular study room. As long as you have more than 2 people in a group, you can check it out. We don't put limits on who can use the equipment. We've had some problems with the computer in there for the last couple of months, but I think it's back up now, so we should be seeing more use.
Are you on the reserve system or first come, first
Yeah,
served?
it's a resource system.
What kind of things are they using it for in the study room?
I think mainly presentations so far, and that's, when we talked to the school board, what we found was that a lot of teachers, even in their classrooms, use it as a fancy PowerPoint presentation system. So I think at this point, that's mainly what people are using it for. They don't really understand all the things in the software behind the equipment can do. So that's going to be one of the challenges for us to try to make sure the teachers understand.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, if we're going to be making classes available to the entire library system. And that's come up a few times, actually, from the mini grant committee also. Once we get the format refined, I think we would be interested in doing that. Right now, we're just trying to get it out to that particular subgroup. But at some point in the future, we definitely need to do that.
Okay, I have to cut it off. Thanks a lot, Ben.
Sure.
Was there anyone else that needed to present so they could go back to work? Okay, Richard, do you want to go? Okay, it's on the bottom. It's on the bottom banner. Just click the.
You moved on, right? My name's Richard Salisbury. My presentation. Problem. Okay, well, this is not where I wanted to start.
السلام عليكم كل سكات وسكات كيفك ورمضت وشلت. We have three different dialects of Arabic: Moroccan, Levantine, and Modern Standard. My project is working with an Arabic professor, and we're looking at Arab immigrants in Florida and the significance of Arab immigration in Florida. I think it's been overlooked. You don't see Arabs on TV, not a lot of advertising. And also Arabic is a very strong program here at UF. It's taught in many, many classes. It's actually 4 years of Arabic here. So one day, I think I got an email for a homework assignment. I noticed that most of the people in my class had Arabic last names, and kind of really intrigued by that. And then later on, Dr. Al-Hadi, Hassan Al-Hadi, one day asked me, he says, you know, Richard, why don't we work on a project together looking at Arab immigration in Florida? I said, well, you know, that's strange. I was thinking the same thing. So we had this kind of synergy, and then he said, well, is there any way we can get funding? So I went to Bess, and I'd have to say if it wasn't for Bess, this probably wouldn't have happened. She was able to get it all together in terms of what you do, how you get it funded, what the steps were, who the parties and contributing parties would be. So all these things came together and wrote the proposal. Lots of things that went into it. For example, there's an IRB involved where you have to pass it through the Institutional Review Board because you're dealing with new subjects. There's equipment issues. I had to use a Marantz digital recorder, which I didn't know how to use. Cameras, I had to get a digital camera. We take part of our projects to take pictures, which is why I was fumbling around trying to find them. This is the what they call a landing page, and on that page is we'll have a photograph of the person being interviewed, the audio file. And let me just give you before I get to it. This is just a beta.
اسمك ميلادك بلدك رسائل شخصية أي شيء عن
اسمي أحمد الراجي.
نعم.
من السعودية.
One of the reasons why I wanted to show you the page where the photographs are is this person being interviewed from Saudi Arabia, and he's dead now. So unfortunately, I didn't have the camera at the time. So we've been trying to contact his son, who will supposed to afford us a picture. Actually, I was thinking of commemorating this person because he used to come in the library all the time to read our Arabic books. He'd get 10 at a time, and he'd tell me, Richard, I'm just going to read these in 10 minutes. So he's really an amazing person. And so we have also the English version of it. So if you want to listen to it in English, you can. And there's also a professional transcriptionist that's able to arrange or get it. And she did all the transcribing of these interviews. And a couple of weeks ago, we went to Ocala, interviewed a bunch of people, mostly Palestinians. And one of the problems that we've encountered is that getting people to submit to the interview process, as it were. Because in these times, for example, it was our second interview. He was an acupuncturist from Palestine, and he spent about 20 minutes with his wife going through our paperwork. We had, the IRB, you have to get authorization. And he read that with a fine-tooth comb. He said, the reason I'm doing this is because the FBI is in here once a week. So those are the challenges of getting this project completed. And also, we're trying to find individuals that represent various Arab countries. For example, we have an Algerian, Saudi Arabian, an Egyptian, and a Palestinian. But we need some people from Qatar, from all over the Arab world. So those are some of the challenges. Dealing with files and photographs, digital photographs, getting these in a form which DOC requires metadata. a lot of, there's a lot of legwork, there's a lot of preparation. I think you have to have your heart into it, and it has to be something you really enjoy doing. And that's more than, it's a wonderful resource. I mean, everything that you do when you're doing it requires some sort of vetting or detailed, analysis. Some repair work, you do this right, so let's do it this way. So I think, if you persevere and something you really enjoy doing, and actually I haven't told you what it's for. Somehow Hadi wants to teach a class in modern immigrant culture. He's going to look at how language has changed, when you develop a slang, change your cultural background and start changing your language. The library will benefit by having, the library will be getting part of the Samuel Prompting Organization project will have an archive here where students who are studying Arabic and want to learn different dialects, they can go and click on this one here. They can click on and listen to somebody speaking at length. Also, there's a proof of concept involved here where this is a kind of an experiment where the library meets with somebody totally outside the library, and they come up with a plan and a model, and then I also took a class with Professor Paul Ortiz and how to do oral interviews. So we can also do some sort of interviewing here in the library, sort of, whatever, some sort of project. So we have the roots of some sort of project here. So those three elements are all tied together in this project.
I think that's
And
good.
that's about it.
Did anybody have any quick questions for Richard? Yes.
When you're interviewing the people from different dialects, do you speak all the different dialects of Arabic so you can understand them, or did you have to like some Iraq dialect to understand that, or did you consider it?
Well, the SM Al-Hadi is the person who does the interviews, and we're both present. He's familiar with various dialects. It's a basic, modern standard Arabic is the basis for a lot of the various dialects. It's biblical Arabic. The people in the street don't speak much Arabic. And I was fortunate enough, I took a course in modern standard Arabic, which is the Eastern dialect. So the Palestinians speak the Eastern dialect. So, you hear, kifak, kifik, akushi, it's not even standard Arabic. And actually, Jana brought a gentleman to the desk the other day, and he was from the Scally program. And my mind wasn't, even prepared to talk to him because he was speaking modern standard. And I just got out of a Levantine Arabic class. So there's a lot of problems with understanding. So it's a good question. Yeah, the Moroccan dialect, for example, most Arabs don't understand Moroccan. It's French influences.
Okay, I think that we're out of time. Janet, do you want to go?
My name is Jennifer Lyon. I'm at the Health Science Center Library. These slides are from a presentation I gave at the Evidence-Based Library and Information Practice Conference back in June. So I'm going to be skimming through these because it's about a 20-minute presentation, and I've got 5 minutes. So you'll have to bear with me as I'm skimming slides. But I'll be happy to answer any questions that come back later. And what this really comes down to is the problem was basically this, paperwork. We've been collecting, we do searches, we do librarian-mediated searches for our patrons. We've been recording them on paper forms and sticking them in cabinet drawers. And one of the questions that I asked when I came in as a new librarian faculty here last summer was, why aren't we putting these in an electronic database at all? So Michelle Tennant, our department head, said, okay, do it. And as we started to do it, we were looking at this backlog, and adapted for our patrons utilizing specialized expertise. It allows us to identify our user populations, our resource usage, to look at internal metrics, to look at what the questions are by department, by college. We serve 6 different colleges, ranging from veterinary medicine to pharmacy, to public health professions, to dentistry. So it's a wide range of things, and it allows us to use the data, because as you serve a department and work with them for a long period of time, questions tend to repeat, and if you've got searches that you've done in the past that just need to be updated, then you can look it up, use your previous work, and reuse it to speed your answer. You can also identify hot topics and be prepared. And the other thing we wanted to do when I sat down and thought, okay, how am I going to do this? I came from Edinburgh University, where I used a system for collecting data from clinical trials that's called REDCap. And the REDCap system is an electronic data capture system designed for collecting data from clinical trials. So this was a new use for the system, but I thought it makes creating a database very easy. It's a very simply developed system for making an electronic database. It's permanent storage. It's free access to anyone at UF. And I thought, I'm going to take advantage of this and see if we can make it work for a new purpose. So the idea was to create a database with the REDCap system, prospectively enter, and we are going to be continually doing this for the future, so it becomes part of our work process. And then through the retrospective entrance of the old search request, so we applied for and received the mini grant to fund the student workers for the data entry. REDCap is a free open source software. It is maintained on campus by the Clinical and Translational Science Institute. All you have to do with the UF Gator link is email them and fill up and register for access. You can then build and create your own databases and make your own projects. A couple of things that made this really useful for us in the health science is when we work with doctors who are working with patient-sensitive information, the system is built to collect clinical trial data, which means that it protects and has protections built in to protect patient-sensitive information. So our database went into production in October of 2010, and we hired students in January, and by the end of that period in May, we had 1,140 total searches entered as of June 15th. 127 new searches came in, and over 1,000 older search requests were entered by our very, very hardworking students. I've got a bunch of data in here that I won't go through. Of course, the majority of our requests came from the Health Science Center. We got over 800 referrals from faculty, but we have a mixture of populations, the clinicians, the patients, the students, the nurses, the residents. When we look at our colleges, it turns out that nursing wins as far as the number of questions we've received from them, even over medicine, which is one of the largest colleges that we serve. We're able to break down by the colleges within the Department of Medicine, and we're going to tie that information into liaison services for those departments. And it gives us kind of an idea. What we found is that when there's an active liaison with a good relationship with the department, the number of searches we get increases. Which is probably not a surprise, but it was nice to see it in data. We look at what the searches are for. And the vast majority were for clinical research and then patient care, and then what we call non-consumer education, which is educating medical students, educating residents, educating healthcare professionals. And then the IACUC are searches related to animal research. The IACUC, which is similar to the Institutional Review Board for humans, IACUC deals with animal welfare approvals. And we have a very good relationship with them, and we do quite a bit of searching for faculty for them. We look at the resources used, we can look at that. PubMed, of course, is our primary database, but we actually things that I put as checkoffs in the database, some of those were less used than others, but things fell into the other category. And some of them had to do with iWork. So we looked at time spent, we looked at the method of contact, the types of deliverables, the number of searches per year. I'm kind of skipping through all this. What it really came down to is, you have the problems with the old data in terms of what we had and sitting in the drawer was what we had. So there were things that were missing, we had missing data points and stuff like that. But we also have an extreme wealth of data that we can use, and going forward, I think we'll be able to use this to really help not just ourselves, but to target our resources and our users in a more effective way and be able to reuse our information to help our patrons. So there's some ups and downs with doing this. We learned a lot about data quality, a lot about our patrons. One thing I'd say in going into doing this is when you're hiring students, it's tricky to do in a mini grant because you don't know for sure you're going to get a student who has federal work study. So I had to put into the grant full funding in case we couldn't find federal work study students, but we ended up finding a pair of work study students, so my grant's overfunded. But if I hadn't been able to find them, I would have been stuck if I assumed that I was only going to get federal work study students. So that was kind of a tricky balance. So I'm going to have money left over in the grant.
That's an excellent point, Jen, and we do that with all the proposals. Is we budget for, we would call it the worst case scenario, which is that you weren't able to get work study. I'm going to have to stop it here. Any questions for Jen? Yeah. Tara?
Can we get to the database at all? No.
You need, I would need to give you access. RedCap has user access controls because it's set up for clinical trial data. But if somebody does want to go in and take a look at the data, just email me and then I will give you access.
Not I have service.
Yeah. I can give anyone who wants it user access. And I can set it up for time periods as well. There's another advantage of the system.
Other questions? Okay, good to go. I think it's done. Any volunteers from those left? Want to go next?
Rebecca and I will go now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, Barbara, go.
She's coming with me.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Shelley.
Okay, I am Barbara Hood. I was PI on this internship mini grant, and the project team was Rebecca Jefferson, who's head of the library, and Dustin Barber, who's our grants manager. And it was called a new internship focused on one collection. And it all started with an idea, and the idea was to form an internship of library-related PR and marketing, grantsmanship and development, and focus on one collection. And we chose Judaica because this is the 30th anniversary of the naming, and there was a big event in March and an exhibit, and then it turned out there was another event and another exhibit, and we figured she could use some extra help with everything she wanted to do. So, the process, we wanted to hire an intern from either FSU or USF in the Library and Information Science program, and we found one after our first one fell through, and because she got a full-time job. So activities was a learning experience, and we'll let Rebecca go through with you because she worked more closely with her. So she's got, she's going to tell you about that.
Some of you are perhaps aware that we've had a rather busy year this year, and it was really good to have this intern on board. It started with our 30th anniversary celebration. We thought that we'd use this year, this 30th year, to raise the profile of the Judaica Library. And so it was a good time to have an event. We could thank the Price family for their gift, raise awareness, and we could look for future potential donors. So we had a big event here in YA, and the president was here and gave a speech. And as you can imagine, that took quite a lot of organising. So thanks to the intern, we had somebody to help us with the mailing list. We had someone to help us put out posters, publicity, to help with the event itself. And also we had 2 exhibits, one here and one in Library West. And Gabriella was able to help us out with those too. And just because we thought, well, that's not enough for 1 year, we'll do some more things. We decided to take Jewish Heritage Month and do 2 exhibitions again here in Smathers and one in West. At the same time, we asked Gabriella if she wanted to arrange a collaboration with the public libraries, and she set about doing that. And we invited an author to speak for Jewish Heritage Month about her book on the Holocaust. And just because we thought we weren't getting enough attention, we decided to have a showcase too, to showcase all the things we've done that year, all the new things happening at the Judaica Library. And so poor old Gabriella had to help us out with that one too, and that was great having her on board to do all those things for us. And as a result of all those things that she did, she was able to present a poster session at FLA, which you can see at the bottom of the slide. As if she didn't have enough to do, our intern did a separate internship with the Digital Library Centre where she learned digitisation, and that was good for us because we're developing a lot of Judaic digital collections, and it was good to have somebody on board who was learning that side of things. And she took that and developed it further and developed for us a portal for our Judaica memorial books. This is a very important collection in the library, but it's a rather hidden collection because it's catalogued separately and not as one collection. And there's a huge growing interest in these books. So she helped us create that portal, and also a huge bibliography on rough works where people can go and see exactly what we have now in there. And finally, what she did was to develop 2 databases. One was of all the Jewish studies centres in the US, which we're now developing to include all the Judaica libraries and collections, and we're going to be able to use this database for future collaborative projects. And the second is a database of Jewish foundations in Florida, the people we can approach to for possible funding for our projects. 2 very important databases, quite unique too. So that was great. A good outcome for the internship.
And what did we learn? We learned a lot. This was an experiment, so with our input and with Gabriella's input, we have revised the manual somewhat. We want to keep it flexible, so in the future, it's not just cut and dry. We want the person to be creative and come forward with ideas. And so that was a good thing that we learned. I think we learned, we didn't get to include a development component, which we had intended. There was just too much going on, so we would definitely try to work that in next time. And we kind of, because there was so much going on, we kind of put all of the grantsmanship training and research into the last 5 or 6 weeks. And I think she became kind of fatigued with that, and I think we should have probably spread that out more. So I think in the future we will do that. And would we do it again? Yes, we definitely want to do it again with paid or unpaid interns, and with another collection that we feel could use some concentrated effort and focus in PRRP, grantsmanship, and development.
Great. Questions? Okay. Rebecca, since you're already up there, you want to do yours? Okay.
idea. Well, we have here at UF a collection of over 200 Jewish anniversary newspapers. Again, another major collection and somewhat hidden due to the fact that it's never been catalogued and it's in a rather poor state of preservation out in storage. I'll show you. This is what we knew about it. This set of card catalogues here. And this is an example. Not very good condition. Why is it important? Well, it's a unique historical source. Not only do these newspapers tell us about the events that they write about, they're also a unique source for the history of the newspaper itself, the history of the newspaper in question, and also the history of the Jewish press. They're completely unique. Nowhere else has these. It was due to the rabbi missionary in Chicago who liked to collect such unusual things. He had a strong eye for collecting, and he liked collecting anniversary volumes. So due to him, we have those, and thanks to Robert Singerman, who used to supplement the collection. But how? How are we going to do this? I mean, this is expensive, 200 pieces, not in good condition. We need money for preservation, cataloging, and digitization. So the idea was to create a pilot project. If we could digitize just a small set of these, then we could raise awareness of them and perhaps attract more funding to finish the rest. So first we had to decide which ones to select, so we needed some good representative samples. We also needed to do it fairly quickly within the timeline, so we couldn't use the large format newspapers, we had to scan them quickly. So size was the first criteria. Then we chose a variety of language, place of publication, date, type, weekly, daily, anniversary, 10th, 20th. And then we digitize them, scan them very quickly. And the digital collection was more. And you can see it all online. We have 25 newspaper titles and 32 newspaper issues. And this is a good representative sample of the 200. And Lourdes worked hard to create a nice landing page that you can see there, which would help us with our publicity of the collection. Then we had it preserved. See, John created some beautiful folders. Preserve them in. This is too unique a collection to throw away, so I wanted to look after it. But it's also preserved now, perpetually online. Then we rolled out the publicity, and we did a poster session at ALA and a talk at the Association of Jewish Libraries. There's now a podcast that you can listen to. There's an article in production. We've had over 10,000 hits on the collection, and we have postcards, flyers. And so we're getting the word out there, and we hope now we're going to attract the sort of funding that we need to finish the project. So the long and the short of it, would we have done anything differently? No. This was a completely smooth project from the start, from best, conceiving the idea, to other people who completely took over it, DLC, preservation. I have hardly had to do with it. Very much.
Not so much a question, but more just kind of a request for anybody who's given, I've seen now there have been a couple of talks and posters that have come out of these projects. I encourage all of you, I know there's a final report at the end of the process that needs to be
Yes,
submitted.
it's not, they're not required yet.
Right. But I think it would be great if you haven't already submitted any posters or talks into the institutional repository so that they've been there forever and ever, and that people can, for future people who are looking at mini grants, they can go and you can include the links in reports and listing materials, and that would be great for mini grant, for future mini grant people who are writing them, to get an idea of the kinds of places where, this work can lead to publication, et cetera, et cetera. That's also good.
Great, great idea. Other questions? Okay, Shelley.
Richard and I were competing for the volume. He needed it really loudly, and I needed it really soft. I'm going to be moving around in the presentation. The mini grant that we applied for was to create online tutorials, and our project specifically was to create tutorials for undergraduates, useful for other people as well, but for undergraduates because they have a lot of, generally when they first come to campus, they have a lot of trouble distinguishing between primary documents and secondary documents. And some of the rest of us do as well, and it depends on what it is, sometimes it's a fine line. But the primary documents are those that are created at the time of an historical event, perhaps a political cartoon or a broadside or pamphlet or map. It's really kind of the evidence of what people thought about the event at that time. And the secondary document is that that's created by writers, historians now who take a look at the primary evidence and come to their own conclusions and write a biography or a critical article, historical article on that particular project. That was the purpose, and caveats that we had was that we wanted it to be interesting. We wanted it to be both educational and entertaining, because we know that undergraduates, the millennial generation, is sometimes easily bored. They're used to the MTV and the computer games, so they like something splashy and flashy and multimedia. So we also wanted to collaborate with a professional production group that could create the tutorial for us. And in talking with Bess, we found out that the best folks to talk to were right here on campus, Digital Worlds Institute. They're involved in a lot of really exciting multimedia projects, cutting-edge technologies to create educational tools. So we talked to them, and what we had were storyboards that we developed, the narrative and images and sound, and we had a number of topics that we could use. So when we finally got the grant and were serious about meeting with Digital Worlds, we showed them to who we thought were the best, or what would be most interesting, and they weren't at all thrilled with these. They thought that our projects were too dull. I don't mean dull, I mean serious and scholarly and academic, which is what we wanted. We were hoping that the topics themselves would override maybe that seriousness. So we wanted to continue working with them. So we thought about other topics that we might use, and we came up with the topic of pirates. We thought we'd get a lot of good mileage out of pirates, because you could create something that's kind of lighthearted and whimsical. So we did have a lot of fun with pirates. Pirates on the high seas, actually. This is where the music comes in. So it's going to be multimedia. And actually, I have to tell you, there is not a finished product yet. We thought that we would have everything
hard to hear.
Oh, okay. We got very little contact, and there was high turnover. A couple of people, we didn't find out until maybe a month later that our contact person had quit, and they were hiring, in the process of hiring someone else. So it was a little difficult in that way, but we were really glad that we changed the topic because we thought we had a good product, and the timeline has been pushed back. We won't probably have a finished product until October, which we trust them, and it's fine. We're not worried about that. But some of the stumbling blocks, that was collaboration can be good and bad. And so our topic changed. We went to Pirates, lighthearted, and this is part of the storyboard that we created. A column for the narration, one for sound, a description of on-screen image, credits, etc. So it's going to start out talking about how it's treacherous on the high seas in Merry-Old England, and there were storms and shipwrecks, and then there were, we gave digital worlds some images of ships, and they're actually going to animate these and show them on rocky waters. So we have a storm, and then I would say another problem was sea monsters, and I love this image of sea monsters. I thought it was perfect for what we wanted to do, but we could never find an attribution. The people that used it on their website didn't give a source. Contacted them, they were kind of stalled. We never really got an answer, so we figured we were using it illegally. But we'll use, we've got some other sea monsters that we'll do. And then here is Blackbeard the pirate, and he tied lit matches to his braids, so you can see the smoke coming from those braids. And he supposedly looks very ferocious. I don't know, did Jack Sparrow have matches on his braids?
Beads.
Oh, no. It's going to be time is quick, but problems I wanted to mention were that images were not always adequate for digital worlds. They wanted, we were giving them JPEG, they wanted TIFF. We couldn't always get permissions for the images we wanted to use. We didn't have any budget for use fees or prints. But it's definitely something that we'll do again, and we'll have a lit guide, bibliographies of pirates and other images, and we'll do some evaluation at the end of the project.
Great. Any quick questions?